Hello and welcome to Talk from Superheroes. Hey everybody, I'm Andrew Ivamy.
And I'm Diana McCollum.
And you're listening to Talk from Superheroes, where every week we discuss a piece of heroic television or film and how heroic it is.
We're talking about some rebels this week.
We are talking about true heroes, the true heroes of it all, the rebels, the rebellion. We are, of course, talking about Andor
or
this
at least
week.
one specific rebel.
One
notable, memorable rebel.
There are other tertiary rebels involved.
There's absolutely
general rebellion.
There absolutely is. It's only called his name.
It is only called his name.
It's called his name in a way that his name is a planet. It's very weird. Every time the opening credits come up, I'm like, I feel like we're on planet Andor.
Well, I mean, there's a planet Andor.
That might be what's doing it.
Yeah.
That might be what's doing it. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. So I think it's the Andor. It's the ketchup.
It's the Andor of it all.
Yeah, Mr. Burns with the ketchup. It's so similar, but it's a little different.
It's quite different. One's a planet, one's a man.
One's planet, one's a man. We're talking about Andor Season 1, and we're going to be talking about the season in its entirety today on the podcast. So we're going to be talking about everything, but since it is a new show that only just finished, as we do anytime that we talk about a new TV show or movie, we are going to give you a spoiler-free review. So if you're on the fence about watching it, if you just want to taste, or for whatever reasons that you may have, we're going to give you a spoiler-free review. Then, once you hear the theme music, that is going to be when we get into the spoiler-filled section of the episode. So to start with a simple spoiler-free review, we'll start with the usual question. Diana, did you like it?
I loved it. I absolutely adored this show. Oh my God, it was so good. It's so important and relevant, but also entertaining and fun, but serious, and the relationships are all wonderfully explored, and it pulls at your heartstrings, and the acting is incredible, and there's this wonderful costuming also happening, and all the CG is used as like a background that I absolutely love, and it never draws too much attention. It is a perfectly balanced, wonderful show that should be made now and is absolutely so good. I am over the moon about how much I loved Andor. Oh my God, it's so good. I feel like it was made specifically for me, which I won't get into until the spoiler-filled sections for some of the parts. Not specifically for me. Everyone loved this show, but certain heartstrings were pulled.
It hits extra hard.
It hit extra hard for me. I loved it. I love that it's just about the rebels and the rebellion. I think that's so important. I think that's so smart. Almost only good things. Cannot wait to get into it deeper after the spoiler-free review. Andrew, did you like Andor?
I loved it. I adored it. This might be, I was thinking about it earlier today, and I'm like, I don't know if it's too fresh for me to say this, if I need to analyze it, because I love Star Wars.
You love Star Wars.
I might go so far, and I'm trying not to be like harsh or like not harsh, but like quick to react. But I feel like this might be the best thing Star Wars has ever done. To the point where I'm like, was Star Wars biding time for 50 years until this show? Because this might be, I'm like, it's Empire Strikes Back, and this might even be better than Empire Strikes. It's insane for me to even feel or say, and it's one of those things where I'm like, I need to rewatch this and revisit it, and like I'm curious as to like how it will hold up with the passage of time and like looking back on it. But right now, like every gut instinct in me is like, this is the best thing Star Wars has made or has ever done, flat out. It's tense, it's incredible, it's beautiful, it's gorgeous. Every performance is near flawless. It's a poignant, quiet observation about the rise of authoritarianism, and it's scary, it's tense, it's everything that you would want it to be, and it's just the best story Star Wars has told. It's remarkable. It's truly, in every aspect of making television and in making art, it is truly remarkable.
It absolutely is. It is the best. I will agree it is the best story Star Wars has told. If we're just going to talk about the best things, I think maybe just entertainment-wise, Mandalorian is also up there.
Oh, interesting.
In terms of like, I am entertained and I'm enthralled. But in terms of like, this is important and I feel like will actually have impact
I
and is still entertaining.
I,
Andor.
I will agree in terms of moral message and the story that it has to tell. Unquestionably, this is the most important thing Star Wars has told. All around package, I still might put it up there as like the best thing, but definitely not like not popcorn entertainment.
Yeah, not like when we
not a
watch the
hungover Sunday afternoon kind of a thing.
Yeah, not like when you throw the Mandalorian on, you're like, look at baby Yoda. Oh my God, he's so
Sure.
cute.
Yeah.
Very different.
Absolutely.
Very different, but very so good. I don't even know how to get into it in a spoiler-free way.
Absolutely.
Well, other than to say, like, watch it. There's no reason to keep listening to the spoiler-free review. Go watch it.
Watch it. And, I have seen some people say, just in terms of like criticism that I've seen online or that I've heard just through conversation with other people, some people did feel like it started with a bit of a slow burn. I do feel like that is intentional. If you start watching it and you're like, it feels like a bit of a slow burn, that will change and also not change. That I do feel like that slow building tension is the constant tone throughout the entire series, but the fact that it remains that, the tension amplifies. So at no point does it like pick up and get peppy or change what its core is as a show. But with every moment of quiet tension, it amplifies the one before and the one after. So I would say that if you're trying to watch it and you find it a bit of a slow burn, stick with it. It stays that. I hope that's your vibe, but it does also like get more intense, I think.
Oh, I would actually disagree. I do think it is a slow burn off the top. I actually found episode 1 and 2 pretty slow and overwhelming with like characters and information, but like in a very confident way that I'm like, they're doing this on purpose. This is a good show that's slow.
Okay.
I think from episode 3 on, I was like, it's not slow in the same way. It's tense in a more fun way, a more fast-paced way.
Interesting.
I think from 3 on, it was more fast-paced and interesting.
See, I think they are all equally slow-paced. And
do.
the fast-paced, to use air quotes, is an illusion that is only there due to our understanding of the tension as it moves on and escalates. That if you watched episode 4 as your first episode, it would feel as slow as episode 1 as your first episode.
Ooh, maybe.
So that is my perspective on that. Is that the perception of an increased pacing is just an illusion. But that's a weird side. But that also leads then to the second spoiler-free review question: can it be spoiled?
It can be spoiled. There are things like, I'm glad I didn't know anything about this show, because like going in, I was like, it's a prequel about Cassian. I don't know if it's how he joined the rebellion, if it's him in the rebellion. I didn't know anything about it, and I wouldn't have wanted to know anything. I don't know if there's like a big spoiler, maybe like at the very end, but like I also just wouldn't have wanted to know the minor plot points. Like, I loved having this entire show revealed to me as it went, which is so refreshing for a known IP, especially for a prequel. Like, we know how this ends, so I'm like, oh, it shouldn't be surprising anything that happens. But like, I loved not knowing where this was going. What about you? Do you think it can be spoiled?
Yeah, I feel the same way. This is a spy thriller. This is 100%. For if you haven't seen it, if you're just touching the spoiler-free review, this is a spy thriller and a well-written one, and one with a series of events that are both predictable and unpredictable at the same time. But there's definitely like some surprises, and it goes some places that I didn't expect, and just some very poignant moments that I think, and powerful moments that really work by kind of not knowing where it was going. And I agree, that was a refreshing place to have a existing IP as well.
So many things were like, oh, it's based on a comic, it's based on, the few years of Obi-Wan in between, he's definitely going to meet Vader. Like, everything else was, a lot of things we watched were like, we know generally what's going to happen. Yeah. But this was just like, I don't know anything about Cassian.
Yep.
I don't know. I know when I meet him in Rogue One.
That's it. That is it. So I think that we're both over the moon. We're both a high recommend and a love, and we both think that it can be spoiled. So we're on the same page on this one. And before we get into the spoiler-filled section of the episode, we want to thank one of our sponsors, our wonderful friends over at Uncommon Goods.
Oh, I love Uncommon Goods. If you want to avoid boring, basic, bland gifts this year, Uncommon Goods is your secret weapon. They're going to make your holiday shopping stress-free. They've scoured the globe for the most remarkable and truly unique gifts for everyone on your list, in housewares, for men, for women, for kids. There's so much cool, unique stuff at Uncommon Goods.
And unique is the key word, is that you're not going to get that kind of like bland, forgettable Christmas gift. Like, there have definitely been times like where I've grabbed something from around the house and I'm like, where did this come from? And I think maybe it was a holiday gift from someone at some point, but I'm like, I don't remember who it was from. I don't remember anything remarkable about this. But if you get a unique item, you get a unique memory with it. And I think that that's a great thing about holiday and gift shopping and getting something remarkable and uncommon.
Yeah, everyone's going to be like, oh, what's that? That's so interesting. You're going to support artists and small independent businesses. A lot of these products are made in small batches and they're going to be super cool. Like we have a cheese and charcuterie board from Uncommon Goods that our friends like freaked out when they saw it because it's got a little drawer for the cheese knives and each little knife is like sectioned out perfectly for the 4 different kinds of cheese knives.
Yeah.
And it made us feel really cool.
Yeah. It's like a nice little drawer slide underneath. It got all your cheese knives in there. And then also too, like, little things like that where it's like, oh, you got like a nice little like cheese board and some cheese knives, and then like those cheese knives are in the back of like a random cutlery drawer you never look in, you're hunting for, you don't use or whatever. Just having everything together, and it was like that was a cool thing that I got for you for a gift, I believe for your birthday, if I recall correctly. And it's something that everyone remarks on, that we remember that it was a gift. It's not a thing that just showed up in our house one day.
We're like, we remember where we got this.
Yeah. And Uncommon Goods, they look for products that are high quality and often homemade or made in the U.S., from art and jewelry to kitchen, so many different wonderful products. So to get 15% off your next gift, go to uncommongoods.com/TFS. That's uncommongoods.com/TFS for 15% off. Don't miss out on this limited time offer. Uncommon Goods, we're all out of the ordinary, and thank you, Uncommon Goods, for your support. And now let's get into the spoiler-filled section. Let's talk about Andor Season 1. All right, we've seen it all.
I love that we both loved this show.
I also love that we both loved it.
What a wonderful, joyous experience this will be to discuss.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that we enjoyed everything. There will be a couple of non-criticism for regular listeners of the podcast. You will know that we will dunk on a goof. We will have a goof. We will do a dunk. But it's all pretty harmless critique at this point on this one.
It's gonna be. I got a couple little fun things, and they're pretty surface level fun.
Yeah, pretty surface level.
Because when you get any lower than the surface, it's like, oh, it's perfection down here. I'm sorry, 10 out of 10.
It really is perfection.
From top to bottom, absolutely everything. Like, it's not too dark, but it's like not too hopeful that you're just like, we won, it's gonna be okay. Like it walks this incredible line of like what it takes to start a rebellion and how difficult it is, but also all the work that goes into oppression and fascism. It's a weird both sidesism that absolutely works. Not like we're going for the bad guys,
right.
But just like
depressing optimism.
Yeah, like to get into the minutia of how the Empire has taken a hold with no Sith involved. Just like a bunch of accountants who are assholes.
The quiet, bureaucratic rise of evil.
And it's like scarier.
Oh, much scarier.
Yeah, because it's everywhere. Like there's only one Sith Lord, but these guys are everywhere. And that's what makes it feel so pervasive.
Absolutely. And we're getting it from the perspective of a bunch of people who like just keep putting off doing something about it and realizing at each moment that last time was the last time it was going to be easier to do the hard thing, and realizing too late that like you need to rise up, but still having that spirit. It's a really powerful message, a very important message, very poignant now and at all times to fight the rise of oppressive authoritarianism. But it really hits it. It hits it so well in every regard. It is, it's the darkest ability for the human spirit to rise above. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that like the final the final episode when like Andor is listening to the I guess like audio book of the person that the guy who died on the manifesto. Soft boy. We're just calling him soft boy.
Guys, you absolutely know who I mean when I say soft boy from the heist.
The soft boy from the heist.
The soft boy. I think his name was Nemec, but I'm going to call him soft boy.
Nemec sounds right. Soft boy from the heist. But that speech, and I think it was in his and not the funeral one, where it was oppression takes constant work. They always have to be afraid. It is constant work to be oppressive. And
tyranny requires constant effort. Guys, this show was so good. Most of my notes are quotes in it and that I have written down. Like, literally, I have so many quotes from this show written down, and that almost never happens. I'll write down, like, one quote, a movie, or a show, and I have written so many things down. So, yes, tyranny requires constant effort. So good.
And it's just it's these little moments where, like, it's not a show built around pull quotes, but there are moments like that I think are perfect distillations of what the show represents. And it's not just saying those little pull quotes or catchphrases and biding time. It is building up to these earned moments that are the perfect distillation of every piece, every emotion that's involved in it. And I just adore it for that.
I really adore, I absolutely adore the way this show built itself up, because as we said, it starts just a little bit slow, not too slow, but slow in a way that I'm like, it's going somewhere, not in a way that I'm like, this show is bad and every episode will be slow and not go anywhere. But I also think it's very good that it entertains you with its message, because like you start off and you're like, oh, this is a show about joining a rebellion at first because he's trying to get recruited. And I'm like, okay, that's fun, I love that. And then it's like, actually, this is a show about a bank heist. I'm like, oh, I love that. And then like, actually, this is a show about a prison break. I'm like, I love that even more. And then like, actually, this is a show about taking down fascists through the use of community and rebellion. I'm like, well, fucking A, I love all these things. Like, the show keeps changing and like pulling you in with these new things that it is, but they're all about rebellion and about like breaking points and like getting to the point where you fight back. But like, they just keep pulling you in with these different like genres of show that it is. And also, I love bank heists and prison breaks. So I was just so on board with so much of this show. I loved it so much.
I couldn't agree more. Bank heist and prison break, first of all, always fun, great micro stories. And by micro stories, I mean several episodes long. But to break the season into arcs, bank heist, prison break, two phenomenal arcs that really work. And one thing that I think that the show does really well is how disjointed and connected both of those things are. The fact that he gets away with the bank heist and is arrested just by just trumped up tyranny.
Yeah.
That it is just the oppression of life under a regime that has decided to approve prison laborers, and to be like, well, if you have prison laborers, then we need more prisoners, and so we're just going to arrest as many people as possible, and we're quietly and bureaucratically going to change harsher laws for criminals. And the idea that like that is the same problem, but these two things are unrelated, that is the point. The fact that they're not connected is the point, and it works so incredibly well.
It works so well, and it works well for an audience perspective and for Cassian specifically, because he gets away with this bank heist. And when he finishes the bank heist, he still hasn't fully turned rebel. He's like, I can escape the Empire. Now I have money. Because he thought he could escape them before he had money. Yeah. He didn't want to join Luthen. He was like, no, you can just like walk fast enough, get away, keep your head down, you'll be fine. And then he gets money, and he's like, now I can definitely escape the Empire. And that's when he goes to jail.
Going to the store. Sincerely going to the store.
Sincerely, absolutely not fighting the Empire in any way. He gets sent to jail. And that is definitely like the inciting incident of like, well, fuck these guys. Like, there is no safe point.
Yeah.
And for everyone in the prison, obviously, that was the breaking point of we're never getting out.
Yeah.
And like, it is just this quiet, like also real life lesson of quiet laws that are change everything. Mm-hmm. Like the Senate very quietly just changed everyone's prison sentence
sentences,
doubled
yeah.
up.
Yeah.
And like no one's talking about it because why would anyone outside of the prison system talk about it? But it's a huge deal.
Yeah.
And it's just a quiet law that they changed.
Yeah, and just little things like we need to be harsher on crime for public safety, when in reality we actually need more prison laborers. Because when we found a way to get free labor, why would we continue to pay for labor when we can just be harsher on crime and make the public afraid and arrest more people, and then we have free labor? Like, it is just the like, well, the evil of commercifying the prison system, the evil of corporifying the prison system is it's very well done.
It is an incredible like parallel to our world in a way that I can't believe Disney approved it. I'm like, did you guys watch this?
It is remarkable.
It is absolutely so close to reality that it is blowing my mind that like they just put this out. Like, I don't know if they just didn't watch it super close or if they like actually didn't care or like supported it
or didn't get it or what, because it is so straightforward, and I mean that as a compliment, to be like, it is not at all subtle. In its themes.
It is saying people are wrongfully incarcerated. It is saying that prison sentences are too long. It is saying that nonviolent offenders should not be put away.
That prison labor shouldn't be legal.
Yeah, that too.
There's so much in here. The prison industrial complex needs to be completely torn down. Increased police presence does not increase safety. It only increases incarceration. There's so much it says here that is 100% correct in exactly what's going on right now. But it goes harder than original Star Wars, which feels almost like the complete antithesis of what Disney has been doing. Because I think we talked about it a little bit when we talked about, it might have been Boba Fett, it might have been Obi-Wan. But the idea that, like, this is a series that started about the imperialist regime of space Nazis. Mm-hmm. And then at some point, Disney was like, fuck, there's a bunch of weirdos who love being Sith and love being the space Nazis. We need to make the space Nazis cool and fun, and we're going to diversify the space Nazis so more people can see themselves in
as
space Nazis.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is actually a weird level of progress that is kind of gross, and I think you don't get the point. Mm-hmm. And this feels like now a full 180 back to the hardest, the rolling, strongest possible route of what the entire purpose of this story is. And I love it, but it still feels like someone slipped something past Disney, or Disney blacked out for like a year while they made this.
Yeah, it does not feel like you're watching the same Empire from Obi-Wan, which is around the same time, because they're both in between episodes 3 and 4. So, like, yeah, you feel like you're watching the actual fascist regime that we met in the original movies, as opposed to the, like, oh, we're just a little bit evil and anyone can join. And do you want to have a lightsaber and a blaster? You can all be... Because even this show... Even the characters in this show, it's hard. It's not even easy to join the Empire. Like the nerdy security guard, Cyril, is like a white guy fascist, and they're just like, not everyone can join. You're not good enough.
Absolutely. And yeah, there's a scariness as well to the banality of evil in this, which I think is very important when we have characters like Cyril, which we can kind of get into a little bit more. But yeah, it really feels like they slipped something past to Disney on this one, and I love it. I'm glad they did.
Beautiful, and oh my god, how happy am I that like season 2 is there's only 2 seasons, and season 2 is already greenlit. I think they've already started it. Like, I think they knew there were going to be 2 seasons right off the bat, and I just absolutely cannot wait.
Yeah.
But I will say, like, maybe that's one of my fewest like negatives. I don't think it really ended in a way that was like, we have a season 2.
It felt like a mid-season break and not an end of a season.
Yeah, the ending didn't feel big enough. I would say actually the season felt like it maybe should have ended at the prison break.
I could totally see that.
Because like as much as I loved watching the people of Ferrix rebel, and I thought that was really great, it wasn't about Cassian, and it wasn't like a big event, and everything really just fizzled down to be like, wait until you see season 2. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. It did feel like it just stopped.
It did just stop. Yeah. Mid-season break is a good way to describe what just happened.
Yeah. They ran out of money or ran out of time, and it just stops. Or, like that was that was just the end of what Disney ordered, to be like, let's see if this works or whatever it might be. Yeah. But the show works top to bottom. It's incredibly powerful. Every performance is phenomenal in this. I'm going to throw that out there. Not a weak link. And I know sometimes I say that on the podcast. I'm like, but here's this one. I actually can't think of anyone who's doing less than stellar work on this.
Oh my God, it would be a real struggle. I mean, if I had to, I would say what is your name? I'm gonna be if I had to.
Oh, okay. I wasn't even trying to make you have to.
No, well, you know what? I won't then, because everyone did do a really great job on this show. Absolutely stellar performances, like Diego Luna. Oh my God, Stellan Skarsgård, who plays Mon Mothma. You were so good, Genevieve O'Reilly.
Genevieve O'Reilly does such a powerful job with Mon Mothma. Yeah.
So good. And performances aside, I really wish I had the IMDb open for like supporting crew, because her costumes were incredible.
I feel like you've gone harder in on costumes over the past few months. I don't know, something like changed in your brain.
I haven't. We've just been
you're
watching
right. I'm agreeing with you. You're
costume work, because we just watched Black Panther 2 and this like in a row, which is like costume amazingness back to back. But like every outfit she had was like just futuristic enough, but definitely like very rich and elegant, but also I want it. Oh my God, I'm going to cosplay Mon Mothma just to own her outfits, just to be like, they're mine now. Oh, absolutely. And like every costume was good, but hers were.
And that perfect combination of like secret personality, stuffy senator, rich aristocrat, but who has something underneath. Like there's so many layers to what her character is, and the costumes really do a good job of reflecting that as well.
They reflect that, and also they just found like her own personal style. Like she likes grays and silvers and like golds and like several layers, but also they have to be tight and fitted and gorgeous and elegant and like kind of draped. I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe how much work was put into this character, and also the performance. Oh
yeah. And
love Mon Mothma.
One of the moments that really got me, the moment when Skarsgård is like on his plane alone, Luthen, when he's on his plane alone for the first time, and he like switches back from rebel recruiter to aristocratic salesperson of old world relics, and just like him practicing that little bit and then flipping full into character is really, really good. And like it's the biggest of those switches that we see. And I think that that's a really great performance from Stellan to see that. And I do think Genevieve's as Mon Mothma, she has to do more smaller switches, which is its own acting challenge as well. So Skarsgård having to like really sell and perform the wildest range of I will murder everyone to tear down the Empire. I do not care. I'm a badass. Into like, who likes to buy a relic? That's a big swing, and that's cool. And Mon Mothma has all these like little small ones that really work as well.
Yeah, Mon Mothma is much harder because she easily could have come off as one note. Like she could have been very boring if you're just like, she's always kind of the same and she's just a little bit uptight and she's talking about politics. But she does find these minor switches, and just that little bit of fear will enter her voice every now and then. And that little bit of confidence and like resolve also comes in. Yeah, she does an incredible job. I can't wait for season 2.
Because when she is herself, in scenes where she gets to be the rebel version of herself, her true self, there are moments where like it's this verge of tears that she brings to her face as a performer, and it's so absolutely powerful to be like, you are on the cusp of breaking, and even though like this is the unreserved version of you, you can't let yourself break down, because I feel like as a character, you know that like once you break down, you're never gonna recollect yourself. Like that, there is only a full stop for you emotionally. Like if you cry, if you have a moment of weakness, it's not, I'm going to spend 5 minutes, let it go, and recollect myself. It is, I can never fully let this wall down, and I can never fully rest or be comfortable, even in the moments where she is comfortable in talking to another rebel or someone that she can be open with.
Yeah, the show really does have that pervasive feel of she is literally always being watched in her car. When she goes to see Luthen, she has to have her back to her driver because she is being watched, even when she gets to speak the words she wants to say about rebellion. She has to have her back to her driver and cannot fully commit to it. Like I wouldn't believe she could just go to her bedroom and just cry because I would believe she was under surveillance there as well. Like she is truly under the watch of the Empire 24 hours a day. Like she has to have meetings at parties, like around everyone. She has to recruit her friend to help her with this banking problem. Like this woman has no rest. She has easily the most difficult job in the rebellion.
Yeah. And they all have incredibly difficult jobs in the rebellion.
All the jobs are hard.
No one's having a good time. And I think that is another great story that this show tells as well, which is the complete sacrifice of yourself that you have to make in order to stand for something. How much everyone gives is very powerful.
Yeah, Stellan Skarsgård's speech to like his undercover guy when he's just on that catwalk and he's like, I've burnt my soul away for a sunrise I'll never see. It is haunting and wonderful. It really reminded me of the operatives from Serenity.
I was just about to say that.
From Serenity?
Yes, when the operative's like, there's no place for me in that world.
No, I'm building a perfect world that I can't be a part of. I'm a monster.
Yeah.
Yeah, like honestly, the operative's speech was a little bit more concise. Maybe that's why it's easier to quote because Stellan's was longer, but still like gorgeous. He's like, I've had to tear myself down to tear the Empire down, but with a slight unsurety that he's right about it, and even the show doesn't seem to think he's right about it. Like being willing to sacrifice 50 rebels to keep a man undercover. Like, why do you have the man undercover then? It's to save 50 rebels, isn't it? Like, but also like eventually you're going to destroy the Death Star probably because of this guy. Like,
yeah, you have to wait and choose the biggest thing possible or find ways in order to hide how you discovered things to avoid things. Yeah.
But even the show is like, we don't know.
Yes.
The show is like, we definitely know who's very, very wrong, and we're not even sure if Luthen's right.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. It actually, and it's very real spy shit. Like a little while ago, I read these two novels, Operation Mincemeat and Operation Zigzag.
Oh, yeah.
That were about actual spy programs, an actual spy like during World War II, and programs that were involving spies. And it's like, yeah, first of all, none of them are good people. They all get very fucked up and compromised morally. Double agents are incredibly tricky to maintain. And they're very morally gray, and they just think everyone are people and sometimes barely have allegiances. And then that was another thing that was very common during World War II, which was like, when they had broken the Turing machine, when they finally had broken the code, and it was like, but we can't let them know that we've broken the code. So when there is going to be an attack, we're letting entire ships of people drown, and we just have to do that because when they attack London or they're going to invade, we have to pick two really good moments and then hide how we got that information. And for the most part, we just have to let people go down. So it was a very having read those not too long ago and kind of seeing some of these scenes, I was like, Jesus, this is actually
too close to home.
This is pretty close to what reality is. So it hits pretty hard in that regard.
I want to talk about the prison for a minute.
Yeah.
I love A Prison Break. I loved all of this.
Love Andy Serkis.
Oh, Andy Serkis was so good. The one way out, the whole like Cassian being the leader without being the leader was very, very interesting. Of like, he's going to be a spy, but he's also a leader of this rebellion. Like, he is not a front man. Very interesting stuff happening there. I'm a little confused because the prison uniforms were rebel colors. They were white and orange. And I'm like, oh, rebels. But then like 5,000 men break out. And in my head, this is going to be like, oh, great, 5,000 new rebels. Like, we're all just going to go join the rebellion because we all hate the Empire. But it really seems like only those two got out.
They're uncertain, but those are the only two we see.
I don't think we're going to stumble upon 4,988 other men later. Like, I don't think they all got out somewhere else. So, like, I really thought this was, like, where, like, and also why I thought it was going to be the finale maybe is like, I thought this was where we start the rebellion. Like, where do you get enough men to fight the Empire? It's like you empty out a prison.
Right. And it's like we have the money and now we have the soldiers.
It felt like it was all coming together. Like, we have millions of dollars now. Now we have soldiers. But I feel like a lot of them died.
I feel like most of them did die.
Jumping into the water was sad.
And I agree with you. It was very much a rebellion color scheme. And that might just be to keep a consistent color scheme throughout this, which is that, black and red represents the Empire and white and orange represent the rebellion, whether it's subconscious or subliminally. That just might be a color story that they are sticking with as costume designers and to keep internal logic and inherent logic as to how things look and seem. But I agree with you. That could be a semi-origin for the color scheme, but they didn't play it out in that regard.
Yeah, it really felt like they were going to be like, at least like 1,000 of us got away, and we're starting our own part of the rebellion, and maybe we'll work with Luthen, but he's more of like a one guy at a time guy, and we're a big troop. Mm-hmm. We're a big old troop of guys.
We're a big troop of guys. Yeah. And I think that with the prison section as well, I really do want to talk about Andy Serkis doing such a phenomenal job in that section of the series, really selling it as this guy who's like, keep your head down, do your time, and we get out. And to be like, I've dedicated to that idea, and when that's taken away, I have fully snapped like a rubber band, and I am gone. I loved him going ham. I loved him as like, he really sells the shit out of the guy that a bunch of people respect. Like, just owned it within a few sentences.
Yeah, he absolutely rules. Andy Serkis has always ruled. It's nice to finally see his actual face in more movies as opposed to CG Andy Serkis. But yeah, he's so powerful and so strong and like firm in his belief. He's like, keep your head down and we're all getting out. And he does want his men to get out. This isn't just for him. He wants his men to get out. Like the guy who has the stroke, he's like, he's got 40 shifts left. Like, just help him get out of here. And he is destroyed when he finds out he's not getting out. Mm-hmm. And that radicalizes the entire prison, obviously, when they all find out they're not getting out. And it really harkens back to this. There was this line that I didn't really understand actually when it happened. In like episode 2, Luthen had this line about he wants the Empire to be scared and to oppress people a little bit more. Because he said something like people need to be stomped on more before they'll fight back, or tightened on more before they'll fight back.
I can't remember, something along the, you have to be, the more you're crushed, the more you'll push back. And that idea of like, the more you need to lose a lot before you snap, and a little bit of everyday authoritarianism and oppression people will just kind of put up with, as they have, but they need to be pushed to their limits, to their breaking point. Yeah, so
Luthen wanting that seemed so wrong until you see that it is how rebellions start. Even Leia in A New Hope has a line like that. The more you squeeze these star systems, the more will slip through your fingers, I think she says to Tarkin, something like that. Like, it has been kind of there the whole time, but seeing it in action. And again, like, Luthen, what are you doing? Like, you think he's the bad guy now. You're like, you want people to die under tyranny, but then it's the only way we rise up.
Yeah. And he is a bad guy. He's not the bad guy.
He's not the bad guy.
But Luthen is
a realist.
Yeah.
Big picture strategist.
Absolutely. He is exactly what a winning side, or the good, air quote, good side of a war's spy leader looks like, which is a very morally gray, very dangerous person. Yeah.
And also about the prison, I think it's a cool design. The whole time we were watching the prison, though, I couldn't stop thinking about Quentin Tarantino must love this prison.
Oh, feet all the time, baby.
Oh, man, feet people must have been losing their mind during the prison scenes. May I just say. Happy for you, feet people?
Enjoy that, feet people. And well taken care of, feet, too. Like, the prisoners were they were clean. They had fresh clothes, like clean cells. They had food goop. Like, it wasn't like
you don't get
a medieval, I'm underground and like my toenails are overgrown and I'm covered in filth.
Yeah, because usually a no-shoes punishment is like, it's dirty or it hurts or your feet are going to get really cold. But really it was just like, we need direct electrical access to your body. And so no shoes for you, but you'll be warm and you'll be clean.
So enjoy that. Now, we are gushing considerably over this. let's take a moment and go over to Goof Corner.
Let's take a little.
Let's step
take a little
aside.
detour.
Let's step aside and let's goof over here for a moment. I think there's two things that I do want to goof on about this show. One is just a character name. You can't. I'm sorry. You can't name a character Kleya. You cannot name a character Kleya. That is a criminal crime. Go straight to prison. You cannot name a character Kleya. And every time Skarsgård says it, it's like Leia is there, but he's forgotten Leia's name. And it's just like, can you hand me that over there, Kleya? And it's just like, did he say Leia? Is this Leia?
A K sound is like the hardest sound, and somehow it disappears every time they say this girl's name.
And especially with like Stellan Skarsgård, who's like very in his throat and very down here. What is it? Kleya.
Well, it sounds like he's like clearing his throat and
Yeah.
then saying Leia.
Yes.
Leia.
Yeah. In a series of which one of the biggest characters in this franchise and in media to date is the only known Leia in human existence.
In human history, and like not
Name
even
a second Leia.
can't do it.
Yeah.
Can't do it. It's like, especially because this is like a show about the rebellion. This isn't a show about just like, it's about Jedi or it's about Ewoks and this person happens to be named Kleya. It's like, unless you are a big fan of Leia who isn't around yet, we haven't even given her the Death Star plan. She's not part of the rebellion. Unless you come like years later and you're like, I named her after Princess Leia, who's my hero. Then it's okay. But to be like, this woman who's also in the rebellion is named Kleya, and we chose that. And also, Mon Mothma's daughter is named Leda, which is also not that
Leia.
far off.
We got Kleya and Leda. We got Kleya and Leda, and they're not Leia.
They are not
Leia. You can't do this.
Come on, names. There's so many names. We have a lot of consonants out there. We got a lot of vowels out there. We even have numbers for certain people.
And especially Star Wars. Like Star Wars, it's like, here's a character. His name's Blim Blam Blue Bloob. And we're like, okay, those have never been said as a thing before, but that's a fucking name now.
Or you can take like things that are already things. Like this guy's Han Solo. And I'm like, cool, that's like a name we have and a name we don't have.
Boom.
This guy's name's Saw. His first name is Saw.
That's fucking crazy.
That's cool. This is Kleya. Boo.
Boo.
Boo naming systems.
Boo. Boo to you.
Boo. Oh, the actress was very good.
Yes, a well-written character and a terrific performance.
Yeah, a really good, like, not a foil to Skarsgård, but like you see how they work together.
A little balance out.
Yeah. But yeah,
Kleya. You can't do that.
We had to turn the subtitles on because we were like, is her name Leia?
Yeah,
We're furious.
I was just like, is this meant to be Leia? Like, I'm like, what the fuck is happening? I felt like I was having a stroke. I didn't know what was going on anymore.
Because I would kind of understand if Leia was undercover working at Stellan Skarsgård Antiquities Shop.
Sure. Why not?
Why not?
Give me one reason why not. So Kleya is a name that absolutely shouldn't be. So a slight sidestep to Goof Corner for that one. What do you have for Goof Corner?
My Goof Corner, well, not so much a goof. Love the guy who hits the anvils. He's very fun.
That dude fucking slaps. Yeah, I'm with you there. He's cool as hell.
He is really, really fun. I'm glad he got to kick a stormtrooper away. Not even so much of a goof. Maybe it is. So the big like rebellion at the end happens. It's like Marva does this incredible speech. We'll talk about more of that later. But like she does this incredible speech, and the Empire's like, no, don't rebel, and they throw a coat over it or whatever. But I just thought it was so funny that the actual rebellion of like hitting guys and fighting back didn't start until someone kicked B2 over. And then literally a whole city full of people were like, we love that droid!
The droid stutters! Yo, fuck him up! Fuck these stormtroopers!
Kill these human beings! He kicked a droid!
Yeah.
And that, honestly, I got it. I understood. If
Yes.
someone kicked that droid, I also would throw rocks and go attack people and lose my mind. But, like, it almost, like, slightly, like, downgraded what Marva had just done. We didn't attack because of they kicked B2. We had to. No, it was a speech. It was a speech for sure. For
It was
sure.
definitely
it was such a good speech. The guy kicked him right in the face.
Right.
Knocked him over.
B2 is such a sweetie.
He's such a pure being.
Yeah. These droids are somewhere in between pets and children, and we have to protect them at all costs.
We can't decide which.
We can't decide which, but we will make you have a weirdly emotional connection to every robot you meet.
You are gonna cry every time you meet a droid in Star Wars for some reason, except for C-3PO's made me cry. Never mind. Absolutely.
Really?
If any of my parts can be used to fix R2,
Oh, that is a good moment.
that's an incredible moment.
That is.
He offers his own parts up for R2.
All right.
That's his only moment like that.
All right, you
But it's
got me.
beautiful.
That's one good. That's a good C-3PO moment. Not to undermine Anthony Daniels.
But he's there for comedic effects mostly.
Yeah.
But yeah, if any of my
But every
parts,
other droid, yeah.
if any of my parts can be used to repair him.
Whereas every other droid is like heartbreakingly delightful in every possible.
You got
other
your
way.
BB-8s. I am looking forward / not looking forward to meeting K2SO because he's so great, but you also know he dies in Rogue One. I assume we're going to meet him in season 2.
Yeah, I mean, I don't need him. I don't think it's. I actually don't know. I don't know if it's that kind of story, other than like maybe that's like where we leave the series to be like he's got K2 and he's taking off now or whatever. I wonder if it's going to be that, but I don't think this is the type of. I don't think K2 fits this vibe, even though Rogue One is not too far off from this show.
Pretty close to this vibe.
Yeah, and as we've discussed before, Rogue One is one that gets like better on every watch as well.
Rogue One's so weird like that. Like, I almost want to go delete my old review of Rogue One because I honestly didn't like it that much when we saw it, and now it's one of my favorite movies.
I mean, I think that rather than deleting old wrong takes, I think that there is a healthy growth in that I think like more reviewers and people who discuss media in general should be willing to have, which is, hey, I had a thing, I was wrong, and I've changed my perspective on something. We need to be willing to change our perspectives on things.
I've changed my perspective on Rogue One.
Yeah, I've grown
after multiple viewings.
I've grown to like it more as well. I also feel the same thing about the Last Jedi as well, other than the Canto Bread stuff. And the last thing I do want to go stay in goof corner for Andor is that the Disney Plus stuff, Obi-Wan, Boba Fett, Mandalorian, have recontextualized some of the sillier stuff from the prequels. You know, some of the things like the battle droids, which were just like silly kind of things from the prequels. I can't remember if it was Boba Fett or Mando, but one of them where they had like the flashback scene of like a village being invaded by the battle droids, and it's like, holy shit, these are actually really scary.
Oh yeah.
And it changed my perspective on a silly thing from the prequels. And this has happened a couple of times with the Disney Plus series where I'm like, oh, this thing from the prequel actually does kind of work with a new hand and a new lens and a new director. What really doesn't is that Senate. That is the silliest set that does not work visually in any way. It's truly miserable to look at. The Galactic Senate, this Thunderdome, they are all in while on floating discs that float in and out of the room, but also have doors, but also light up and unlight depending on whether or not they're listening. There's so much just garbage with this set and this room, and showing it in this show, it was the only point in the show I laughed out loud. It was the only point where I'm like, it doesn't fucking work in any way. It does not work. This is the worst set design.
It absolutely does not work. No, nothing about the Senate works. Like, and you're like, nothing differentiates you when it's your turn to talk. Your disc just goes out a little bit more, and I'm like, you should like light up, or like you should get a hologram. I don't know what you're gonna do, and also the idea that this many people go to Senate meetings. I'm like, there's like 5 guys here. The rest are zooming in. Like, there's no way.
Yeah.
There's this many guys here, and they're always talking over each other, and they're yelling shit out. And I'm like, it's got to be a system to like agree or disagree.
And there's so much wasted empty space as well. It doesn't work in that way.
And yeah, like it's very silly. I completely agree that it is the only moment where this show felt silly. And
Yeah.
even other things that I think have been silly, they managed to work out. Like Coruscant in the prequels is just like so bright in CG. But in this show, they managed to make like the CG much more matte. It's never quite midday. It's always like late at night or a little bit darker to make it a little bit more palatable. Like it's a completely CG world, but like it looks a little bit more real.
Yeah, and
Everywhere except the Senate. The Senate.
And the Senate and Mon Mothma even has that one line where she's like, they have regulations. We're actually not allowed to paint it different colors or change too much thing. And I think that that's actually like, it works in logistically to be like, we're trying to keep a coherent theme and a tone. It also works thematically as well to be like, there is a homogeny to the world that they're trying to create. That this is just aesthetically the look that they've decided that we like, and we do not necessarily have a say in that. And that represents our society. But that Senate, I think, like the only thing about that set that I can conceptualize to be like when they came up with that set design for the prequels, it's before the Empire, it's the Galactic Republic, and it's this idea that like it's in a round. No one has a position greater than one another. It's actually a perfect domed room. It's not an Oval Office. It is 360 degrees spherical. Everyone has the exact same seat at the table as everyone else. That idea of like in 360 degrees of space, this is meant to be democratic. Everyone has a seat at the table. Everyone has an equal voice and an equal footing, and there's no one at the front of the stage. There's just people taking turns talking. As it is now the Empire, that room is completely demolished by the Emperor. At no point is the Emperor being like, yes, I want the room that is symbolic of all voices being equal. No.
Yeah.
That room is closed.
Definitely. Like he wouldn't, like as much as like I guess the senators got to keep their job, which also never made sense to me. Once the Emperor took control and owned the armies and everything, I was like, the senators still get to just show up and be free and be like, I'm going to vote on things? We have an emperor.
I mean, I think the idea is that it's slowly being like crushed into symbolic heads of states that just align with the Emperor's side.
Yeah, I get that. But I agree that I also thought the room would be demolished. Like Palpatine still stand in the middle of that thing every now and then, listening to these guys yell at him.
Equal
Absolutely
to everyone
not.
else? No.
He's shooting you with electricity the second you say no to him. He's like, shut up.
No, shut
He's
up.
going to do that thing he did where he fought Yoda and just throw your little disc around and zoom it and circle it and boom.
Yeah.
That's why the room doesn't exist anymore. He's thrown all the little discs out of anger.
There are so many reasons they could have retconned that this room existed. So ugly. Anyway, I've goofed on it for too long, but it doesn't work. It doesn't work recontextualized, and it's a hideous set design.
I agree. Now, here is something they did do a good job on, but we goofed on Twitter about this. The poor CGI animators who had to make the eye.
Oh, you poor bastards.
They built up the eye so much. So they're like, for like 4 episodes, they're like, so our one chance to do this heist is when the most gorgeous thing that's ever happened in any universe happens for 20 minutes. And we're all gonna steal the things while everyone's looking at the prettiest thing you've ever seen. It'll blow your mind how gorgeous it is. And the poor animators.
In all of space and time, nothing's ever looked this good. And they kept reiterating it, and even to the point where they were like, it is so movingly beautiful.
Even the Empire wants to see it.
Even the space Nazis ask for a night off from being space Nazis to admire the beauty of the natural universe. It is so moving. Prejudice is dropped for a moment in time. and then like there's just some animator shitting bricks being like, I have to make that a reality, you know. Like, writer, why would you write that?
And like it looked good.
And it did look terrific.
It kind of reminded me of like the Bifrost in Thor. Like if you were driving a ship through the Bifrost. And like it looked good, but you can't build it up that much.
Such a rude thing for a writer to write, knowing that someone's going to have to animate
If
that.
you have to write that, you should have to animate that.
Yes.
You should have to be the one who's like, it looks exactly like this.
You're the writer of this series. You wake up in the middle of the night as 8 animators are dragging you out of your bed and being like, you do it. You wrote it. You do it.
You tell us what the prettiest thing in the universe looks like.
Show me. Show me the embodiment of the concept of beauty. Show me, you fuck.
Show me a painting that would make a Nazi drop his Nazisms.
Why? Yeah. But it looked good.
It looked good.
It did look good. It did look quite good.
No, it did look really good. I will say I loved the CG in this show. I love that this is a Star Wars show that is like a lot of it's CG. Like definitely it's like starships are CG, the space, a lot of the cities, but it all feels like it's not CG'd. It's CG'd in a way that you're not even supposed to notice. Like this is not like, look at the CG. This is very much like we made a world, don't even worry about it. It's all real.
Yeah.
It is very relaxing in the CG-ness of it. Like we're on speeders, but it's never like, look at this cool speeder. Even when like Luthen has his really cool ship that has like cool lasers and can get out of tractor beams.
Really cool ship moment as well.
It still didn't feel like a look at this CG moment. It felt like a look how prepared Luthen is.
Right.
And it's not about the ship.
It always serves a story function.
Yeah.
And it looks good. It also looks good and it serves a story function.
And it also might have been the first time they've de-aged someone, and I was like, that was casual and cool, and you didn't make a big deal out of it. Did they not de-age Forrest Whitaker? He looked really good.
I don't think they de-aged Forrest Whitaker.
You don't think they did? He seems smoother than I've seen him recently.
I think maybe they put less shit on him.
Is that the same thing these days?
Well, because I think that in Rogue One, when they had him show up, he had like a breathing apparatus, 9 things, 8 layers of tired makeup, and they were like, this dude has been brain fucked by a space squid. He's a mess.
That's true.
So I think they
I'm
just
even
maybe
thinking,
like the makeup department was like, let's not fuck up Forrest quite visually as bad.
That's fair. I was actually thinking since then we've seen him in Black Panther 1, and I thought he looked a little older than he does now.
I mean, yeah, the man's getting older and aging, but I think they definitely cooled down as to how bad they made him look.
No, he wasn't like on the respirator yet,
Yeah.
which is why I thought, I'm like, I actually don't know how many years this is before Rogue One.
Yeah, I don't know
I'm like-
exactly where we're at either.
Like, if this is like 10 years before Rogue One, that means like 15 years our time, because Rogue One was 5 years ago now. So, like, that is a de-aging moment, perhaps.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I thought he was de-aged. I could be wrong. Maybe it is just less shit on
I think it's just
Whitaker's
less
face.
shit on his face.
Well,
I think
either
that
way-
like they accidentally did themselves a favor for de-aging him by trying to make him look as tired and fucked up as possible in Rogue One.
That does make it easier.
Yeah, so that does. Yeah.
It's like how the guy who plays the Emperor could easily play Palpatine in the prequels because they fucked him up so much in the original movies.
I mean, he wasn't in the original movies.
Yeah, he was Emperor in the original movies.
I think it was. I think it was only the third.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. But like,
Yeah.
he got to play the Emperor the whole time.
Yes.
Because he was all olded up in the original.
Yes, that is true. Because they went back and replaced him.
Oh,
Because originally it was, I forget what it was. It was a combination of a monkey and a human face.
Oh, I remember this. Yes, it was a monkey or something.
So it was not always him.
But
He
Return of
was
the Jedi.
inserted in. I think that you're right. Yeah.
Return of the Jedi was him.
Yeah. He was. Yeah. So it was him, and I see what you're saying there. So a similar thing, I guess, with Forrest. And weirdly, for like a air quote cameo, it didn't feel like forced. You know, and I think by making it minor characters, that does help by not being like, here's a Skywalker. Like, it does make it a little bit more organic to be like, it's Saw Gerrera. There's not too much pressure on Saw Gerrera.
No.
But here's a little thing.
I think a minor character who's not even like, no offense to Forrest Whitaker, not beloved, because Saw Gerrera is a weird part of Rogue One. He's got the tentacle monster, and he's like, Jedi, and he's a little too much, and you don't really get him.
Yeah, he's doing a lot.
He's doing a lot. So, like, I don't think anyone dislikes Saw, but he's not, like, a fan favorite. So it really was just, like, he's just here for the story. He's part of it. Like, Saw Gerrera is part of the rebellion at this time.
Yeah.
And he's part of the rebellion in the future.
Mm-hmm.
It was just a complete storytelling function.
And I think like and it really did work to tell like the story of the attack that has been set up to fail from the Empire, but we can't reveal our internal spy as well.
Yeah, and there's like a really great, I really loved the first scene with Saw, where like Saw was going through like all the different rebel factions, and then Luthen is just like, we could all just work together. And like Rasad's like, absolutely not. The paleo atheists, I will not work with them. And they're all these groups that hate the Empire but won't work together, and it's so exhausting.
Yeah, and like I think that also has something to say to be like, well, that's why we're fighting, is for the right to individualism, but that is also what makes it incredibly difficult to unite in a fight. And also it kind of goes back to Luthen's point of like, you need to be incredibly oppressive in order to get all of these people to fight together as well, is the other big thing. The other actor that I do want to mention is Denise Gow, who plays Dedra. What a terrific job. What an absolutely terrific job. The jaw tension to maintain that frowny gowl the whole time. It is her and Carl Urban in Dread, who are the only two actors who I've seen manage to hold a traditional frown for hours on end.
I'm going to go back. I think you said this as a mistake, but you said gowl. And I like this as I like this. A glare meets a scowl is a gowl.
It's a gowl.
I think that's what you were going for.
Yep.
A glare scowl.
I think I was also looking at her name, which is Denise, I believe, Gow. But now it's named after her. Her namesake now as well is in there. A gowl.
A gowl, a glare and a scowl. And I think you said that accidentally, and I love it because it perfectly describes what she's doing.
When I try to recreate it, it sincerely hurts my jaw.
And to do it and to hold it while also doing an incredible acting job.
Yeah.
It really does make you talk like this, though.
Yeah, it changes your speech pattern for sure. But for her to carry that level of like of tension and power and authority and just everything that she carries as a truly like terrible and villainous character that she conveys really well and makes me dislike to the point that like I find myself occasionally having to remind myself that these are actors.
Yeah.
You know, like
you get a little worried you're going to hate Denise Gow if you ever run into her in real life.
Yeah. Dedra and Cyril as well. Kyle Soller, who does a great job of playing this absolute rule-following dweeb. I would say that I haven't had to remind myself that these are actors and I can't dislike them personally since
Joffrey and Game of Thrones?
Joffrey and Cersei. Is it Cersei?
Cersei's who you hate.
The other Lannister. The
mom Lannister? Yeah.
Yeah. Lena Headey?
Yeah.
I believe. Yeah. I would say the two of them where I'm like, I hate both of you. And I'm like, no, Andrew. These are two terrific actors doing a great job of a villain. So I'm kind of at that with Dedra and Cyril as well, where I'm like, you are phenomenal actors that are really pushing me into anger.
Dedra was so good. There is this great moment because she's so powerful and confident. She's just tortured Bix. Like she's been her most evil and she's like, we rule everything and we control everything. And it takes just like one rock hitting her head for her to be panicked and afraid, like in that final rebellion scene. And she's like scrambling and she's terrified and she's shaking. And it really goes back to like in the manifesto, he has these lines of like, oppression is just fear masked. And it's like, yeah, the people oppressing you are scared of you. The second you rise up, they're like, oh no, we don't know what to do. And it perfectly encapsulated that for me of this like powerful high up woman who the second there's a tiny bit of danger, she wasn't a badass who pulled out a gun. She didn't start ordering men around. She was scrambling on the ground afraid.
Yeah. And I think it also like was a great representation of, I think it hits so many additional story elements. I agree with everything that you're saying, that it's a representation of like her anger is just fear kind of disguised. But I think it also goes to show how insulated, how protected evil and tyrannical people are from the actions that they actually do, that they are so separated and removed, they don't even see it. Like they're so safe and comfortable in the world that they were born into. Like they think that they're people who fought and scraped and rose to the top, when in reality they were just born into the most comfortable situation possible and inherited power. Like she thinks that she's incredible because she is the most powerful powerful and imposing person in a room full of middle managers who are good at Excel. Like, these are people who are good at figuring out how to do tyranny through spreadsheets, and she thinks she's king shit because she is working her way up and stepping on people in that room. But a rock gets thrown at her, and she has no idea what to do.
She went to another guy and got a spreadsheet she wasn't supposed to see, and thought she was the hottest shit ever. And then a guy threw a rock at her, and she was like, rocks?
Yeah, she got the torture audio program. She got the audio book of torture and played it for someone and was like, I'm a really powerful torturer. It's like, no, you actually...
You're just a human.
You're just kind of pathetic. Yeah.
Yeah. Loved that part.
Yeah, her fear, her absolute fear. And this dweeb, this complete, such good work of making a dweeb.
He's such a dweeb. He makes me really hate myself for loving rules. Like, I'm a person, I like rules, like, for the most part, like, good rules. I'm like, I don't want to get in trouble. I don't like breaking rules. But this guy makes me like, I got to break some rules. I don't want to be this fucking nerd. I don't want to be this guy.
You like reasonable rules.
I like reasonable rules.
You like reasonable rules where it's like, we'll be out and it's like, let's not jaywalk. And I'm like, of course, I agree with you. There's traffic. It's not worth dying trying to cross the street to get a $5 footlong. You know what I mean? Like, it's not, but you have your limits. You're not out there breaking rules every day, but I do think that as someone, you are someone who loves rules, but you love reasonable rules, safety-based rules.
Yeah, I wouldn't be hunting Cassian Andor.
Yes.
I don't think I have that in me.
Yes.
Especially if I'd gotten another job that didn't involve hunting Cassian Andor. I don't think I would cross lines that way.
I don't think you would either. I'm a rule follower in the sense that I get mad when a car is parked too close to a stop sign, where I'm like, it's less safe for me to cross the street now. A lot of crossing the street related stuff on my part.
Andrew crosses a lot of streets, you guys.
I'm crisscrossing, zigzagging. You think I'm going to zig? I'm zagging over to that other side of the street. You don't know.
Mostly, we have a lot of parks near where we live, and we like to take our dog to different ones.
Yeah.
So we got to cross a lot of roads.
So we are crossing.
So our dog is a very enriched life, in case you're worried about our dog.
Some roads in that regard. But yeah, a very rule-following dweeb, very King Joffrey type of energy. Yeah, a very in many regards, in terms of like their roles as well. Obviously, not mother-son, but a very Joffrey and Cersei type of bureaucrat, leader, dweeb energy. Yeah.
I think we're winding down, but I will say, since we're almost winding down, incredible, maybe my favorite end credit scene of all time. The reveal that they were making the Death Star.
Yep.
Holy crap. What an incredible not roundabout, but just like everything's connected in this universe in a wild way. Like, Cassian is building the Death Star, but he also would rather die than help them. So he breaks the prison that is building the Death Star and probably put it a few weeks behind schedule, because that prison definitely didn't get up and running again for a while. But then he helped made it. He helped break it. He helps completely destroy it eventually. It's such a wildly cool idea. And it's like, it's not going to come around again. Like, we're not going to he's not going to be like, wait a minute, I made those things on the Death Star.
He doesn't get close enough to see it or figure it out.
He'll never know he built the Death Star. But it just is, it makes it so important what happened at the prison.
Yeah.
Like, how important it is to fight them and not help them in any way, to never be compliant. I loved it. I absolutely loved it.
It makes it poetic. It makes his journey poetic without necessarily giving him the knowledge of that information. And it's something that, and I think something the show kind of does a good job of in all regards, and good writing in general does, which seems obvious in retrospect.
Yeah.
Like, at the time that they were in the prison and they were making it, we even discussed, we kind of turned to one another and I was like, what the fuck are these things that they're making? And knowing Star Wars and knowing this era, I would be like, what would be the worst possible thing? I'm willing to bet these are parts of the Death Star. But they're very... they're very separated. It's just kind of this like a weird star shape. It's very detached. So it just never really occurs to me. And also, there's so many other things and so much tension happening constantly that it distracted me from it. And I think that that's a sign of really good writing, to be like, here is something. Look at it. Don't look at it too hard. Oops, I've distracted you. Anyway, we'll go back to that later. And that's really clever writing. And in retrospect, it seems like that's the
So
only
obvious.
obvious place
Yeah.
it would go.
It's magic trick writing. It's like when you see how they do it, it's so obvious, but in the moment you can't figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah.
It's such a great ending.
Working on these solar
The means
panels.
of your own destruction, because he's destroyed by the Death Star.
Yeah.
Death Star kills him in Rogue One.
Yeah. Wow, yeah, that's a good point too. The means of your own destruction, but also the thing that you will destroy. And I think another sign of like the banality of evil as well, to be like, it's not the gun of the Death Star. It is connecting joiners for the solar panels of the Death Star. That is wild. Of the solar radiation panels of the Death Star, these are just corner joists.
Yeah, just joists.
They're just joists.
It's not like the main part of a killer droid, which I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be like when they broke out, a bunch of droids were going to appear made of the things they'd been building.
I was thinking maybe like AT-AT parts or something like that. Yeah.
But yeah, the Death Star.
Yeah, and the banality of evil of it just being some connecting joints as well.
Yeah.
Interesting stuff. Well, I'm feeling good on Andor. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling really good.
Yeah, I feel like we could continue
I have
talking
so much
for a
I
want
want to say, and I actually, most of it is just quoting lines that were so good.
Hit me with one great line that you loved.
One great line.
I didn't write any down like you. I can think of moments that I loved, but
I love him more than anything he could ever do wrong.
ooh.
Marva's last words to Cassian.
Yes, that's a very good one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can get on board with that. And I
I
think
can
that,
hit you with that one.
that moment as well when she kind of breaks down to him that she's not leaving, where she's just like, I'm old, I'm tired, and I'm not doing this anymore.
Well, no, but she's also not leaving because she believes in the rebellion because she heard about the
thing that he did.
thing on Aldhani.
Oh.
She's like, people are fighting back. There was just a giant robbery on Aldhani. And he's like, no, Mom, no, that was me. He doesn't tell her that, but like,
He's inspiring people and he doesn't even know it. But
yeah, he's inspiring his own mother.
But also, that is exactly what Luthen's plan was as
inspire
well,
people.
to inspire people, and then also to fund a rebellion.
And also, here is a little thing that Tumblr pointed out to me that I just thought was so great. Before Marva dies, there's a line between Bix and Brasso, the other guy who lives there.
Okay.
And she's like, Marva went out and she wanted to see if the tunnels under the hotel were still working for rebel stuff. And like they like roll their eyes like rebel stuff. And those tunnels are how Cassian saves Bix at the end.
That's how he tunnels into the hotel. Of course.
It's because Marva knew about them and was making sure they were still there. That's when she hurt herself and hit her head the first time.
Yeah.
So just like crazy little stuff like that like on rewatch I think would be like, oh my God, Cassian uses those tunnels, or like, oh my God, they're building the Death Star. Like, I'm gonna rewatch this show.
Yeah.
And also I gotta rewatch Rogue One now.
And even I'm like, and I'm even only like just now remembering all of the stuff during the heist portion about getting all of this old world technology that can't be like overridden and overwhelmed by them, and just like this kind of like smaller point about like technological overreach of power as well, to be like, they remove everything from us that gives us means of production or the means to repair anything ourselves, and that reliance on what you've been handed is really good stuff. There's so much
There's
happening
so much here. I could do another full episode.
Yes,
But we gotta get going.
We gotta get going. We'll call it there, but we will finish up with the final question that we always ask. We're gonna ask the question of what would you change. So now that we discussed everything we discussed, what would you change about this if you could change anything? But before we do ask that final question, we want to thank our other sponsor of today's episode. We want to thank our wonderful friends over at tpublic.com.
tpublic.com, where you're gonna find your next favorite tee made by an independent artist, and you're going to love the design you get. It's going to be made by someone who loves the thing you love. You're not going to find it anywhere else, and you're going to get it on a t-shirt or a hoodie or a tank top or some other wonderful thing. And you're also going to get it at a Really good price. I'm going to tell you right now, TeePublic is pretty much going to be on sale until Christmas at this point.
A lot of great sales happening right now at tpublic.com. So you're getting good prices, well made, shipped right to your doorstep. And all of the stuff that you see, they are designs that have been submitted by independent artists who are getting commissions for their work. So when you shop through our storefront, you are going to support this podcast, and you are also going to directly support the artist who designed it as well. So that is all fantastic with cool independent designs, unique stuff. Like one that I'm liking, it's a Visit Tatooine t-shirt, and it's a nice like tourist style t-shirt, but for Tatooine. I like it. It has this kind of like Floridian Miami vacation vibe to it, but for
there's
Tatooine.
two suns.
But there is two suns, and it's a really cool vibe, and I like it a lot.
I love that we didn't coordinate what shirts we were picking because my shirt is Visit Ferrix, where Andor lives. And it's kind of like the opposite. It's like gloomy and like you shouldn't be visiting. And it's the silhouette of Cassian and B2. And then like Ferrix in the background and it says Visit Ferrix. There's
It's very industrial kind of vibes.
It's very industrial. It's very cool. Andor just finished. I'm going to say by the time this episode comes out, there's going to be dozens more Andor shirts on tpublic.com. They're going to come out in droves.
I think that's a safe bet.
And I cannot wait to buy a couple.
Absolutely. So you can find either of the designs we just mentioned. Also, we're constantly updating our store. So new designs are being added regularly. And as well, if you go to our store link, which is tpublic.fromsuperheroes.com, you'll see the designs that we mentioned, all the updated designs we put in, previous ones we've mentioned on the podcast. But as well, even if you go to that link and just search anywhere on the site, you will directly support this podcast as well as the artist who designed that particular design. So go to tpublic.fromsuperheroes.com. That is teepublic.fromsuperheroes.com. And thank you, TeePublic, for your support.
Thank you, TeePublic.
And as well, real quick before we go into the final question, we'll remind you, as we do every week, take a moment, subscribe, rate, review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podcast Addict, really wherever you're listening to this right now, rate and review. It helps us move up the charts, move up the ranking, improve ourselves to the algorithm, and then we get recommended to new listeners who are more likely to actually hit subscribe, hit download, and try us if we have good reviews there. So reviews, it's a free way to support us. It does make a big difference.
If you want to get us something for the holidays, we would love some reviews.
Get us a review,
Give
baby.
A nice free gift for your favorite podcasters. Leave them for other podcasts while you're there. Type in a few nice words and 5 stars. It would mean the world to us. It's all we want for Christmas.
And as well, if you do, however, have a little bit in your budget and want to get us a heftier, cooler, sweeter gift for the holidays,
for Christmas.
You can check us out over on Patreon. Patreon is a monthly subscription service. You can subscribe at whatever level is in your budget, and you'll get different cool bonuses depending on what level you're at. So even at the $1 level, you can sign up for $1 a month, and you'll get all of our webcomic Texts from Superheroes a day early. There's plenty of different levels. At the $10 hero level, you get a bonus episode of this podcast every single month, and you get immediate access to the full back catalog as well.
It's so many episodes. They are ad-free. They're on a topic we don't cover on the regular podcast. It's a lot of fun just hanging out with the patrons, talking about a full movie or TV show we've never covered. This month we did Creed 2.
Yes, we did. Yeah, because we did Creed on the main line before Black Panther 2.
And just to go back a little, in October we did Hocus Pocus, and that was a blast.
Hocus Pocus, that slaps.
That movie slaps.
That movie slaps.
Just FYI.
Yeah, Creed 2.
Shout out to Hocus Pocus.
Creed 2 mixed bag. Creed 2 mixed bag. Fun episode. Mixed bag. Hocus Pocus slaps. So check out those episodes. They're available right now on our Patreon page. You can sign up at whatever level is in your budget. You can cancel or change on any given month. Head over to patreon.com/fromsuperheroes. That's patreon.com/fromsuperheroes. And now let's ask the final question of what would you change? Diana, what would you change?
Not too much. I think some little changes were kind of things that I didn't get into that I didn't think quite worked. Like, there's a lot of extra stuff that doesn't come up. Like, I don't know what was going on with Cassian on Kenari. I don't know what all this stuff with his sister was. It's introduced very early, like it will be important. It's the reason he kills the 2 guards, and it doesn't come up again. And even, I assume it'll come up in season 2, but it just seems very irrelevant. I don't really know why we had to hide his identity and why he's from Kenari. it's really muddying up the first couple episodes, I think. So I might drop those things. In terms of an actual change, though, I think my biggest thing would be the final 2 episodes. I think the rebellion on Ferrix is so great, but the show is called Andor, and Cassian is not involved in it. He's kind of just like hoping he gets an opening to go save Bix. I don't think he even really knows these people are going to revolt. I'm not sure if they know. So I would like if Cassian just kind of played a bigger part in this. He actually like kind of did organize what's going on, because Marva obviously recorded this without him, not knowing he was going to be here, this incredible message that he sends up. But I do think he needs to have like laid a hand in like taking down the Empire here, starting this rebellion on Ferrix a little bit more. Just little things like just getting there a little earlier, organizing a bit more, telling people what to do, inspiring them through his mother, perhaps. Like just make it more about Cassian, because the show is called Andor and he feels like he doesn't really matter in the last episode or so. And not, like once the prison's over, it's like it doesn't really matter that Cassian's around, and it probably should. That's my tiny change that I just want to see more Cassian focused. Always want a little more Diego Luna around. That's my change. Andrew, what would you change?
I like that a lot. I'm very much on board with your changes. Yeah, the origin story of his planet and his sister. It is. I agree with you. I kind of have wiped it out of my brain because it doesn't have anything to do with anything.
Yeah, it felt really important at the moment, and then it just doesn't matter.
I'm willing to bet that that's probably what season 2 is going to be about, because it was also very clunky for his mother to have a line of like, "I need you to stop looking for your sister," and that it wasn't your sister's dead. It was stop looking for her. So I think obviously she will be somewhere and someone of importance. Perhaps even someone part of the Empire in season 2. We'll see. But yeah, I love yours. I agree with this. I think for him to be more engaged in the final 2 episodes, I'm of the same thought as you, that like he's trying to get Bix out, but he's not necessarily involved in the rebellion and in the movement. I think the show has always been about him, or has up until that point been about him accidentally being part of the rebellion while doing something for himself.
Yes,
and
yes.
So he's doing something for him. He's doing something for Andor, and he's doing something for Cassian, and he's accidentally inspiring a rebellion. And I think that should be what happens there, is that before even the big speech, before the holographic speech at the funeral, word hasn't gotten out about that prison break. I think to help inspire the events and inspire everyone, he should be spreading word about the prison break to inspire people. I think that would get him a little bit more engaged, and would get him a little bit more of continuation of the accidental rebel, of the like, I am someone who's done something that I don't consider heroic. I consider it survival. And that has inspired everyone. But I do know what I need to do to survive. And I think in that scenario, it would be him, by whatever means it might be, maybe like a secret pirate radio signal, or like paper literature that slipped under people's door, whatever the fuck it is. But him telling people about this prison break and about what's going on, helping push them to the breaking point right before they see this hologram. And that's what creates the distraction he needs to get in.
I can get behind that. I like that. Or even if Melshi did it, because Melshi is the one who wants to get the word out when they break apart on that planet, on the like the holiday planet. Yeah. Melshi's like, we got to tell people, and Cassian's like, I got a funeral to go to. But like if Melshi was like spreading the word and then accidentally did it again, of like inspiring Andor's friends again. That'd be kind of interesting as well.
That actually would be a good way to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. If Melshi's sent out some kind of signal.
Thank you for the assist on that.
No problem.
Yeah.
I am so happy for the guy playing Melshi, who had like 2 lines in Rogue One, and he's like, I'm back, baby.
Back, baby. having a decent little chunk of a role as well. Yeah, but that's my soft change. I appreciate you helping me out with it, because my change is soft because I really loved this top to bottom.
It was a great show.
Yeah. Well, that is going to be it for this week for our talk about Andor. Next week, we are going to be back talking about the Guardians Christmas special.
Oh, that should be fun.
Yeah.
Hasn't come out yet at the time of recording.
We'll see how it goes. So we'll be back next week to talk about Guardians Christmas special. In the meantime, if you want to get a hold of us, you can find me online at Ivimey, Ivimey.
Oh, you can find me at Words of Diana. I think Twitter will still be there.
Yeah, I'm on
Seems to be
Instagram
sticking
at
around.
Ivamy. Ivamy is pretty much my go-to wherever I'm at.
I'm on Tumblr at Words of Diana.
Ooh,
If you want to hit me up on Tumblr, guys.
Tumblr at Words of Diana. I'm Instagram at Ivamy. And you can find us pretty much anywhere as well at From Superheroes. And we'll talk to y'all next week.
Bye.